Making Sense of Jesus, Episode 2. How can God be love? In the first short presentation, we said that if there is a God, then he must be good. Not just a God who does good things from time to time, but essentially good, or goodness itself. A God who was not good in essence would not create anything at all, but would guard the experience of being for himself and be unable to share it. But we can say more about this good God. If he is entirely alone in the eternity beyond time and space, then he cannot be a God of love and goodness, because there would be no eternal object of his love. What he is, he must be in essence. It must be who he is, and not just what he does. An eternal God without an eternal object of love, and without being the eternal subject of love, cannot be a God who is love. If there were other gods, could this provide an object for God's love? No, it would not, because God is that absolute being who exists outside of all things, and is not a super being living in some other place. There is only one God, because there is no place where God lives as if he could share it with another divine being. How then can God be a God of love and goodness if he is utterly and absolutely alone? Christianity teaches that God has revealed himself to us as a trinity of divine persons who share one nature or existence. There are not three gods, nor is there one God who puts on a different mask from time to time. Rather, there is one God who is three persons who exist in love and share and receive love in eternity and beyond time and space. This means that God is love, and that God experiences relationship as an essential aspect of his being. We cannot imagine what this looks like, because God is not a thing that can be examined. But we can understand and believe this truth, that God is love, because God always exists in a relationship of love within himself. There is no time when this relationship of love between three divine persons who are one God has not existed. It exists outside of time and defines what God is like. The Bible speaks of this plurality within the one God, even in the first words, when we read, "Let us make man in our image, according to our likeness." It is not surprising that human beings are made for relationships and flourish where there is love, since this aspect of our humanity represents something essential about God himself, who is always love and always experiences love in relationship within himself. If there is a God, then he must be good, or he would never have created anything apart from himself. If he is a good God, then he cannot exist entirely and absolutely in isolation and alone. Such a God could not be either goodness or love in his nature and essence, since in eternity he would neither love nor express goodness. If he is God, then he cannot exist with other gods as if one among many, but must be absolute in his existence. It is the God who is three persons in one divine being, which expresses the reality of a God who is love and is goodness in his very essence, and who loves and enjoys relationship within himself in the eternity outside of time and space. If this good God, who is love in relationship within himself, has created the universe and humanity within it, and if we also experience the need for relationships in love, then we must conclude that God wants us to have a relationship with him. It is not enough to believe only in his existence, or even to address him as someone distant from us. This God of love wants us to know him for ourselves.